Welcome, everyone. I'm Sue Reckoff. I'm the president of the Historical Society of University City. We want to thank you for joining the Historical Society tonight for we think it's our 10th annual State of the City presentation. Usually, we invite you to come in person to an event in the council chambers on the 5th floor of our historic City Hall. It's been a different year. We still, even though it's a year of COVID, we want to give you the opportunity to hear both the mayor and the city manager about what's ahead. And we've got challenges, we've got opportunities coming up in 2021, and we want to give you an opportunity to hear about those. Usually we have these every year for the last 10 years, and we pick a date right around March the 4th, which was the birthday of our city founder and first mayor, Edward Gardner Lewis. This year he would be 152, and we like to invite you for a birthday cake and not only to hear the presentation, but to have a chance to visit with friends and neighbors who come too. If Mr. Lewis were here tonight, he would be signing you up for subscriptions to his magazines. He would be selling you land in U Heights number 1 or 2 or 3. He would be selling you shares in his bank that he had just built across the street, or he would be signing you up to belong to the American Women's League. But this year, it's a little different. This year, if nothing else, we've all learned to live virtually. So this year's presentation is virtual. Our first presenter tonight is Gregory Rose, who is our city manager. Just, for his opportunity to tell us about what's ahead in the coming year for University City. Mr. Rose?
Well, thank you, Ms. Rykoff, for that introduction. I'd also like to first and foremost say happy birthday to Mr. Lewis, 152. That is quite a while ago. Also, I want to recognize our Honorable Mayor Crow, who I will introduce to you a little later. I am extremely happy to be in University City. There's truly no other place that I would want to be today. I'm the son of an East Texas Baptist minister, and every Sunday, I would attend church and listen to my father's sermons. After his sermon, my father had a favorite song he would sing to his congregation. Now, many in his congregation were poor, lacked a formal education, and had little hope of ever realizing the American dream of financial security. During difficult times, I often reflect on the lyrics of his favorite song, being an old spiritual, "The Lord will make a way somehow." It always brings me comfort. 2020 brought great despair to so many of our residents. The economic and societal impacts of the coronavirus and the monumental events of 2020 made it an unforgettable year for all of us, inasmuch that it tested our will to survive as a species and forced us to better understand who we are as a nation and what our institutions mean to us. Although we as a community faced many challenges in 2020, we weathered the storm primarily due to our typical U-City grit. Shortly after speaking to you last year, we were forced to declare a state of emergency, reduce staffing, suspend planned capital projects, limit public access to City Hall, and close many of our facilities due to the coronavirus pandemic. Little did I realize then that almost a year later, we would still be in a state of closure. Our facilities have remained closed due to the high positivity rate in St. Louis County. The most recent positivity rate for St. Louis County is 5.2%, reflecting a downward trend from the 22% positivity rate recorded just in January. Due to this downward trend, we are preparing for the reopening of our pool and Centennial Commons within the next few months. The target date for reopening Centennial Commons is May the 28th and May the 29th for opening our pool. Staff is being rehired and hired that will enable us to meet the rigorous cleaning standards set by St. Louis County Health Department. City Hall will continue to remain open on a limited basis until we can fully open in a manner that minimizes the risk to our staff and residents of contracting the coronavirus. We intend to open our facilities as it becomes safe to do so. Like many cities in St. Louis County, the coronavirus pandemic caused disruption to our revenues. To ensure we maintain a strong financial position, difficult decisions were made. Due to the quick actions of our mayor and council, I'm pleased to report to you the state of our finances remains strong. Our general fund, which funds the bulk of our services, has a fund balance of approximately 40% when compared to expenditures. This cushion provides us with the opportunity to open Centennial Commons and the pool without fully knowing what the usage will be in this current environment. Our pension funds remain healthy, with the uniform plan at 76% funded and the non-uniform plan at 78% funded. Although both plans are in healthy condition, we anticipate the actuarial study will show an even stronger financial status for both plans in fiscal year 2021. I am committed to the mayor and council to recommend funding that would eventually bring both funds to an 80% funding level. I want to commend Finance Director Keith Cole and his staff for their work and dedication in making sure our books are above reproach and our FY 2020 audit was clean. The council manager form of government is structured so that government operates more like a business. And like any business, sometimes you must increase price because the cost of business has increased. This is the state we find ourselves in relative to our recycling operations. Our solid waste fund is struggling due to our desire to continue offering recycling services to our residents. In 2019, China stopped accepting recycling from the United States, which has placed a financial strain on our recycling business. This has resulted in deferring needed capital purchases such as trash trucks and other equipment so we can maintain a healthy cash flow. At some point soon, we will not be able to defer needed capital purchases, and we will need to make some tough decisions about continuing our recycling program. Before asking for a rate increase, the mayor and council have requested I review all our revenue sources and explore other business opportunities as a means of further delaying or minimizing a potential rate increase. These reviews are taking place as we speak. The mayor and council have authorized a study of our material facilities to determine if we can reopen the facility and offer recycling separation services to other communities. We're also exploring offering trash transfer services to other communities and businesses to maximize revenue in our trash collection operation. I anticipate these reviews being completed by the end of summer. We'll continue to closely monitor our recycling operations. The safety and well-being of our residents is a high priority. To that end, the mayor and council brought back ambulance service in 2019. And in 2020, they approved for the installation of security cameras to aid us in the capture and prosecution of those who would commit crime in our community. The mayor and council have demonstrated their commitment to having a well-trained and equipped police department and fire department. I commend Chief Hampton, Chief Henson, and the women and men that make up our police and fire departments. They all have a tough job under normal conditions. The pandemic has made being a firefighter, paramedic, and being a police officer even more dangerous than I'm sure our employees could have ever imagined when they donned the uniform. We are all in their debt. Special recognition goes out to our police department for attaining the Missouri Police Chiefs Association high accreditation standards for the first time ever in 2020, and facilitating a 20% reduction in our crime rate for violent crimes. Diversifying our local economy continues to be a priority for our mayor and council. We're primarily a bedroom community with sprinkles of commercial business activity. Our structure is an ongoing challenge because in Missouri, you're limited on the amount of increase to your property taxes by the Hancock Amendment. Because of this amendment, we are more reliant on sales taxes to balance the budget. Cunningham Industrial Park gives us an opportunity to compete in the manufacturing sector and increase sales taxes needed to provide our residents with critical services. I intend to ask the mayor and council to authorize a study of our industrial park to determine what infrastructure improvements are required so we can be more competitive and attract new business to our community. Today, we still have several development projects advancing in University City that will increase our sales tax base. I know Mayor Crow will discuss some of these projects with you and share some exciting news. For most of us, the ability to realize the American dream of financial security is closely tied to our ability to own a home. We realize that our third ward has a higher percentage of rental housing than what we would like to see. I will be asking the council this year to authorize the creation of a housing program that will target creating an additional path to home ownership and increasing equity for owner-occupied housing. I will recommend the mayor and council establish a goal of increasing the value of housing throughout University City and narrowing the gap between the value of housing amongst our wards. I want to take this opportunity to commend Planning and Development Director Clifford Cross and his staff for their work, especially in starting the process for creating a housing program and preparing the proposed legislation for the creation of the Economic Development Retail Sales Tax Loan Program. Many of our small businesses were hurt this year because they had to shut down or reduce capacity as a result of the pandemic. The program approved by the mayor and council made a difference that enabled many of the small businesses to survive. The mayor and council continue to invest in improving our parks, our streets, and other city services. In 2020, they budgeted more than $100,000 to bring back tree pruning, $500,000 on improving Fogarty Park, $700,000 for street maintenance, $550,000 for playground improvements, $475,000 on sidewalks and curb improvements, and $250,000 on the pool, just to name a few. The mayor and council established these types of improvements as one of their top priorities. As such, you can expect to continue seeing significant investment in our community's public infrastructure and services provided to our residents. I will want to hear from you this year on what you think of the services that we provide. I will be asking the mayor and council to provide funding for our second citizen satisfaction survey in the financial year 2020 annual operating budget. As you can appreciate, a great deal of work goes into advancing the capital improvements. I want to commend Public Works Director Sinan Appleson and his team, and Parks and Recreation Director Darren Dunkel and his group for their hard work in making sure that these capital projects advance to completion. The pandemic was not the only disaster we faced in 2020. 8 minutes and 46 seconds both shocked and changed the world. The tragic death of George Floyd ushered in a wave of indignation and protest, as it should. We welcome the Black Lives Matter members into our city who peacefully demonstrated their collective outrage. I appreciate the members of Black Lives Matter leading the movement that made it clear to the world this and other similar heinous acts of violence against any American is wrong. These types of actions make us who deeply connect with that event ask ourselves, is this America? For me, the answer is simple. It is still a part of America, but it is not all of America. For someone like me to be here speaking to you tonight tells me that America and University City continues to evolve. I am the son of an East Texas Baptist minister whose father's favorite song still brings me comfort today. I want to share with you just a few of the lyrics from that song. Like a ship that has been tossed and driven, battered by an angry sea, when the storms of life are raging and the fury falls on me, I wonder what I've done that makes this race so hard to run. Then I say to my soul, take courage. The Lord will make a way somehow. I believe if we all work together, we can achieve the ideals of the great society that were held so dear by Lyndon Johnson. The pandemic cannot defeat us. Racism cannot defeat us. Bigotry cannot defeat us. And terrorism cannot defeat us. Let us resolve to make University City a shining example as a community that embraces diversity, equity, opportunity, and inclusion for all. I want to thank my staff, many of whom risked their lives so that we could deliver critical services to our residents. Thank you to the employees in sanitation, streets, parks and recreation, golf course, and administration. Your sacrifices are valued and will not be forgotten. Finally, I would like to thank the Historical Society for sponsoring this event, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Now I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to you someone that I call Mayor, my friend, and is the leader of this community. We can have no better mayor than our Honorable Terry Crow.
Thank you, Gregory. To everyone tonight, first I would like to say that we miss you. We miss not seeing you in this chamber, and frankly, I've not been in this chamber now in just about 1 year. To the Historical Society, and in particular to Sue, thank you so much for having us be a part of this program yet again. Before I begin my remarks, I do want to share with you news that many of you may already have heard. A dear friend to many of you and to me, Bob Wagner, passed away yesterday afternoon peacefully. Bob served on the city council from 1986 until 2010. 24 years he served this community. He and his wife Nancy lived the majority of their married life on Kingsbury Avenue. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his children. We thank him for his dedication and service to our community in making University City a better place to live. As Gregory mentioned, this time last year, we were entering the pandemic. And this time we at least feel like maybe we are seeing the beginning of the end, we hope. But clearly our city has been guided by data and by science. And I too want to join the city manager on behalf of my colleagues on the council and thank particularly our first responders. We have all taken great pride in our community, of our police force and our firefighters. They have always protected us, and this year they went way beyond the call of duty in providing safety, security to us while putting themselves further into harm's way. I also want to thank the city manager and his staff for making some very painful decisions early on. When the city manager talks about a healthy fund balance, it is because tough decisions were made up front by him and by his staff. We are in a better financial position than we thought we would remotely be at this time. And we believe we have done so in a way that has protected you as a citizen, your safety, and our employees as well. We fully recognize that we will not make everyone happy. When the city manager has talked about reopening Centennial Commons and the pool, we realize that many people say that there are facilities around us that are already open. Yes, they are. We also recognize that our community is a little bit older and our socioeconomic diversity in our community is far different than the communities near us that have indoor facilities. So we have done the best we can during a very difficult situation to keep you safe and to keep our employees safe. The city manager touched briefly on the Economic Development Retail Sales Tax Fund. Many of you may recall that decades ago, you approved a sales tax that allowed us to have something hardly any community around us has, which is an Economic Development Retail Sales Tax Fund controlled by a board that is primarily University City citizens, people from the school district, and people appointed by the county. Over the years, the fund balance in that particular fund has grown. The EDRST board decided, along with the council and the city manager, that it was time to step in early on to help our businesses. So we allocated over $1 million over the past 9 months in 4 phases to make sure that we assisted our businesses as best we could. We hope that it has worked. All I would ask of you is that you will please support our local businesses. If you feel comfortable dining in, please come visit our restaurants. If you don't feel comfortable dining in, please order takeout. Everybody has this down to a science now for picking up meals, and we really do rely on the businesses throughout our community, so please support them. A couple of things now that we'll be facing as we go forward. It should come as no surprise to any of you who are watching this video that our police department is housed in a temporary facility. It's been that way for quite some time, and frankly, it's been that way for too long. At the same point in time, I think we have done this in a very professional manner. The city manager has authorized a space study, a space needs analysis, and then a study of the annex. It is my belief that the city council will take up the issue of a police station in the near term. As always, we want to hear from you because it is your police force. It is you we are talking about protecting, and so we want you to be a part of that dialogue. In the most recent updates, we have always talked about the Olive and 170 development. Some people call it colloquially the Costco development. I will tell you first off, thank you for your patience. At times, I know that many people have grown frustrated. I can also tell you that as of this date, the vast majority of the tracts of land that are necessary for the Costco should be closed upon by the end of this month. The financing that is necessary for the development to come over the finish line has already been put in place to the satisfaction of the city manager and to council. So we look forward to moving this development forward. And again, we thank you for your patience, and let's hope that we can continue to diversify our tax base. If we'll move a little bit east along Olive, we will come up to the intersection of North and South, the northeast corner. That particular piece of property has been in litigation since the last administration. That litigation has now ended. We hope to have development plans out to the public in the next few months so that that intersection can take on a new life. We can then move a little bit further east to Midland and Olive, where we believe that by the end of the year, we will have another development plan for what would be the northwest corner of that particular intersection. We can then move a little bit west, back out to Delmar and 170, where we have not one, but two apartment complexes that are likely to come up in the next year or two. One is on the southwest corner, and one is on the southeast corner. Both of them are likely to have some small amount of retail, but primarily they will be apartment complexes, probably 200 to 220 units per per project. And then you also have the Delcrest building, Crown Center, that is going through a major rehab and rebuilding. Finally, if we can come down to the loop, I know that we had a question asked by one of our citizens about Delmar Harvard. As most of you know, the True Hotel is coming into that particular piece of property. The Delmar building is likely to be demolished, and a number of people have asked for the ceramic tile mural to be saved. I had the opportunity to talk to the developer, and he has agreed to work with the city to save the mural. And then the Harvard School will be saved and rehabbed into what will be called likely the True Hotel. So we continue to work to diversify our economic base. Now, no update, particularly talking about the state of our city, would be complete without some mention of Washington University. As with all of you, we recognize that Washington University is a very positive influence in our community, and they are a great neighbor. They're a big neighbor. At the same point in time, we also recognize that they have, in many ways, a fiscal impact to us that can be detrimental. And I say that because there are services that are rendered for which taxes are not paid. That is not a surprise to anyone who is watching this broadcast. So the city manager put forth a fiscal impact study, which, by the way, any of you have a right to see. You can contact the city clerk anytime you want to, and it will walk you through the details of the deficit that we incur based upon Washington University's need for services. That deficit could be, depending on how you want to define it, anywhere from $500,000 to $1.3 million. The city manager and I will be meeting with Washington University in the very near future to talk about how we can address the fiscal impact that Washington University has on our community. When Gregory talked about 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a painful time for everyone in our country. A couple of things I'd like to mention. When that occurred, many of you will recall that we had a number of artists and volunteers that came to the Delmar Loop to put up plywood so that the glass windows were saved. And because of the beauty and the dedication of all of those volunteers and artists, many of our plywood artworks are now going to be on display and traveling across the country as part of a commemoration of the artwork that came out of such a tragic situation. Another factor that came after George Floyd was the question and the concern of how we honor those who came before us. And in University City, that has come in the form of a task force that has reviewed all of the names of all the streets in University City. And each member of council appointed a member, and I appointed a member, to a 7-person commission task force to work through this issue. I never thought the members of this commission would put forth the effort that they did. That is a compliment to them. They have worked tirelessly to examine street after street after street. The city council will be taking up their report in the next month or so. And again, it'll be public information to everyone. I will tell you that since I was the liaison to that task force, that the 4 streets that probably have garnered the most attention are Jackson, Pershing, Amherst, and Wilson. And while all of the public was allowed and suggested to make comments, particularly to those of you who are in the Historical Society, I will say on behalf of council, we want to hear from you as to how you think we can best address this issue that we face. And when I talked just a minute ago about the Olive and 170 development, I do want to make a shout out to our school district, our school board, and our superintendent, because one of the tracts of land that was necessary was Torah Prep. And it is not a secret that then the school district took a vote to declare the McNair building surplus property. That then allowed Torah Prep ownership to buy McNair, and then for the Costco to go in and take part of that footprint. To all the members of the school board who took that 5-2 vote, I want to say to you, thank you. I think it was the right decision for the school district. I think it was the right decision for our community, and I appreciate the leadership that you have shown. In that regard, we do have a school board election next month, and there are 3 people running for 2 seats. So I always welcome the opportunity for people to participate in the democratic process and make our school district continue to thrive and to grow. There are a couple of questions that I think I've answered almost all of them that came in prior to tonight's meeting. One that is left that I just want to spend a minute on, and someone asked particularly about Jeffrey Plaza. Jeffrey Plaza has been owned by the developer now for well over, I'd say, a year, and still has businesses that are operating in it. Clearly, when the development goes forward, Jeffrey Plaza will come down. We want to retain as many businesses as we can, and there will be assistance from the developer for relocation funds for another location within University City. So please know that there are businesses operating there right now, and we want everybody to stay in University City. We have plenty of other locations, and we hope that the relocation package will help make that attractive for people to stay. In closing, it truly is an honor to serve as your mayor. I cannot wait for us to be back in this chamber. I cannot wait for you to be back in this chamber, but I will also tell you, we are not opening back up until we feel it is safe for you and safe for our employees. So to all of you, thank you for joining us tonight. I do believe there's probably one question left that the city manager we had that we have not answered. So I want to turn the program back over to Gregory. And thank you again for making university the wonderful place that it is.
Mayor, thank you. There was one question remaining, and the question we received from a resident was regarding police surveillance in the east neighborhood of Pennsylvania Avenue and Plymouth. And I will share with you that our intention is to place a great deal of resources into those areas where we know they are challenged. And so we will have targeted surveillance in that area, but that's one of the areas that we will identify for potential use of cameras and other equipment that we believe would help us in identifying and prosecuting people that commit crime in that area. So that concludes the presentation for tonight. I want to again recognize our honorable mayor. Thank you for being with us tonight, and I would be remiss if I didn't say, we are close, I think, to getting back, maybe not to the normal, but to better days as it relates to the coronavirus. So please continue to wear a mask and social distance, wash your hands, and please, please, please check on your neighbors. Thank you for this great opportunity, and good night. And